Monsieur le Premier ministre Trudeau,
Prime Minister Trudeau,
candidats et candidates,
candidates,
Monsieur le Président du parti,
the President of the party,
ministres et députés,
ministers and MPs,
chers compatriotes, bonsoir.
good evening.
C'est une occasion exceptionnelle
This is
d'être
an
avec vous
exceptional
ce soir.
opportunity for me to be here this evening.
Il s'agit de ma 9e
This is
convention
my
du Parti libéral à laquelle
ninth
je
Liberal
participe.
convention that I participated in.
Et c'est la 7e fois
And it's the 7th
que
time
je m'avance au podium.
that I've spoken at the podium.
Je n'aurais jamais cru
I
que
would
je
have never
pourrais le
thought
faire
that I could
à
do it
l'âge de 91 ans.
at 91.
Et toujours prêt à me battre.
I'm still ready to fight. I have fight in me yet.
It's great to see so many young people in the room today. It reminds me of my first Liberal convention when I was the president of the Young Liberals at Laval University. In 1958, when Lester Pearson was elected Liberal leader. In 1958, not many of you were born. And he then became a very good prime minister. I have kept coming to Liberal Convention for 68 years. I have kept coming back to Liberal Convention because of what the Liberal Party stands for. I have kept coming back because of what the Liberal Party has delivered to make the lives of Canadians better. And I am here today because it is the Liberal Party that can best deliver the better lives for Canadians in the days, weeks, months, and years ahead. It is the Liberal Party that has given Canadians the Canadian Pension Plan and Medicare, the Charter of Rights and Freedom, the 2 official languages that put the Indigenous rights into the Canadian Constitution, brought in tough gun control laws, affirmative action. We have always supported women's right to choose. We are the party who led the way to permit, the second party in the country in the world to permit same-sex marriage. The party is the party of diversity, equality, tolerance, openness, and inclusiveness. We Liberals call it the very essence of Canada. And it is the Liberal Party that gave us the red maple leaf flag 60 years ago, which flew so proudly in homes across the country on the 14th of February to demonstrate our patriotism and love for Canada. I want to say a special thank you to former Prime Ministers Joe Clark, Harper, Martin, Campbell for coming together with me to rally Canadians across the land to show the Canadian flag with pride, with a lot of pride. But tonight, I want to pay tribute to Justin Trudeau. I want to pay tribute to him for taking the Liberal Party from third place to government and three successive election victories. I want to pay tribute to what he and his team have accomplished. Canadian Child Benefit, to reduce the poverty for the children in Canada. The $10 child care that opened the labor market to so many women. For the dental plan for low-income Canadians. For all the work they've done on the environment. Ladies and gentlemen, these are liberal policies. And let's talk about the economic reality of the moment now. Because Canada has done well. This, I'm telling you, as I've said so many times, Canada is not broken. Despite the attacks by the critics, Canada has the lowest deficit per capita in the G7. More than 5 times lower than in the United States. For the lowest debt per capita in the G7. And in fact, the payment on the interest of the debt today is only 11% for each dollar of tax we pay, and compared to what we got when we formed the government in 1993, we were obliged to pay 35 cents in every tax dollar. That was a little problem the Tories left to me. And we balanced the books. We took that mess from the Tories and we balanced the books. And we had 10 years of surplus. And the Tories came back to power and we went back in debt. Now inflation is 1.9% in Canada. It's 3.2% and increasing south of the border. You know, I spend my life talking about job creations. Now the problem, we're looking for manpower. It's a difficult problem, but it's better than the reverse. You know, I want to pay tribute to the government, to Mr. Trudeau, and to all the provincial governments for the fact that they have been with the municipalities to put together the best program on the pandemic that we face, better than any other country in the world. Our debt rate was less than half of the United States. Today, as a party, we're choosing a new leader. A leader who will assume the mantle of Laurier and King, Saint Laurent and Pearson, Trudeau's father, Trudeau the son, who has with him a very beautiful daughter. You know, I'm old enough to say that. And myself. And that is very important. I want to take this moment to say how impressed I am by the quality of the candidates whose names are on the ballot tonight. It makes me very, very proud to be a liberal. Et maintenant, parlons
And now,
de l'éléphant dans la
let's
pièce.
talk about the elephant in the room.
La longue et fructueuse amitié
The
canado-américaine,
long and fruitful
construite au fil
friendship with
de
the Americans,
multiples décennies,
built over
se transforme
decades,
sous nos yeux
which
et à
is
une grande
falling
vitesse
apart before our
à quelque
eyes
chose d'autre
and is
qui
becoming
reste encore difficile à
something
nommer.
which is difficult to name.
Le respect mutuel,
Mutual respect,
la confiance,
trust,
l'esprit de coopération réciproque,
reciprocal
l'amitié,
cooperation, friendship, which have long characterized our relationship, are now giving way to wariness
de plus en plus
and more open hostility from the Trump administration towards our country. This is something we've never seen, but this is something that Canadians don't understand, and I think the majority of Americans don't understand it either, without mentioning the rest of the planet. Why? Well, why historians, journalists, and university researchers and experts in international politics are trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense? Well, in Canada, our elbows are up. We're working together to unite, to deal with this threat, the threat to our economy and our sovereignty. In other words, our very existence as a country. At the beginning of the week, tariffs became a reality, and there will only be losers if you measure it in financial terms alone. But for Canadians, it's more than that. It's more than money that's at stake here. We love our country and our independence. We love who we are because we're unique in the world.
And I want to pay tribute to the Trudeau government and all the Premier for the way they have led Canada in the last few weeks in confronting the menace imposed on us. With tariffs completely unjustified. Governments have absolutely right in retaliating as they have, and I congratulate all of them. If it is necessary, the governments altogether can consider going further and hitting the Americans where it really hurts by imposing an export tax on oil, gas, potash, steel, aluminum, and electricity. And we'll use that money to build infrastructure that are needed in Canada. For example, to build a pipeline for natural gas from Alberta to Quebec. Alberta, the family of my mother, and Quebec, of my father. So, you know, I think that if we do that, that will keep the steel workers working in Canada for a long time. And I could go on and on, but I'm limited in time. So, the world has lived for 80 years with a rule-based order that has brought us peace and prosperity. It has enabled the United States to be the strongest, the most powerful country in the world. It has allowed all of us to sleep well every night. And now, Donald Trump has decided to do it all out the window. We are going to be living very difficult time, but I'm very confident that the next Prime Minister will work with the premiers, the leaders of all the political parties in the House of Commons, and allies around the world to stand together to meet the challenges that Mr. Trump is creating for the whole world. And perhaps, speaking of the President, it is time for a little history lesson for him. Probably does not realize that in 1776, Benjamin Franklin spent a year in Montreal trying to convince the people to join the American Revolution. And he was told by the Francophone, "Non, merci." And they were right. Look what happened to the French language in Louisiana. The Loyalists left the USA to come back to Upper Canada and the Atlantic, and the Francophone and Lower Canada, together they built our independent country. During the War of 1812, Americans came to what is known Canada on a mission of conquest. They were defeated by Colonel de Salaberry in what is now Quebec, and by leaders like the great indigenous chief Tecumseh in what is now Ontario. And I don't know, apparently some burned the White House at that time. But I'm too old to do it. No, it's a joke. But, ladies and gentlemen, we have been friend and good neighbor with our southern neighbors. But we must stand up for ourselves. Historically, despite our friendship, we have had problems, but we always found a way to solve them. We have worked with and collaborated with the United States in the past, and I'm telling you, we will do so in the future. We are good neighbors and friends. We are good neighbors and friends, but we are proud and independent country. But sometimes one must stand up for Canada. We must always be vigilant. And I did so as minister and as prime minister. Way back in 1968, when the Americans sent a ship, the Manhattan, with no Canadian flag through our Northern Passage, they wanted to prove that the passage was international water. As Minister of Northern Affairs, I flew to Pond Inlet at the northern extremity of Baffinland to confront them. I was on the Louis Saint-Laurent icebreaker. I called the captain. I said I will be there in an hour. And it's better to have the Canadian flag at the mast. I took... When I arrived, there was the Canadian flag at the mast. And I had a big smile. You know, we had other problems of the same nature. You remember Newfoundland, the so-called fish war, when we arrested the Estée, when my friend Tobin made a great show at the UN with the illegal nets. And we were successful. They changed the international laws after that because there was a problem that needed to be fixed. And I'm quite proud of it, and it was quite a time. Yeah. I was traveling in the West. I came back. It was Holy Week. So it was a Thursday, Holy Week. So my wife said, we'll have a good rest for the weekend. And I said, perhaps not, because I'm declaring war to Spain. She did not sleep. But, you know, we had another problem on the West Coast. You know, we have Vancouver Island, the mainland, and Canadian waters. And the fishermen from Oregon and Washington State were going to Alaska, but they were not respecting our water. So we threatened them to block the passage on Canadian water and force them to go in the high seas. It was a very difficult problem. The senator of Alaska said it was almost a question of war. So I discussed that, and I talked with my friend Bill Clinton, and he said, it's out of Canada, there's not much I can do. I said, if you cannot do something, I will do something. And they were forced to respect our laws. Some were taken to courts, and after that, the problem was solved because we stood for us strongly. But for 8 years, I was a colleague of Bill Clinton, and he would always say that Canada was his best ally, and that I was a very good friend, and we still are very good friends. But we worked together, and we found solutions together. And it's what happened in the future, too. We always been good neighbors with anybody. So I was proud, too, when I was Prime Minister, and I had to say no to the participation in the American invasion of Iraq. That decision told the United States and the world that Canada is a proud, independent country. Of course, the business community was very nervous. They were afraid of retaliation. So I told them, okay, give me the list of all the goods and all the services that the Americans are buying from us because they like us. I've not received the list yet. So, you know, we will work in collaboration with them. But, you know, they have to understand, and everybody understand, that we are a very proud country. And for me, I can tell you that sometimes I can say this, from one old guy to another old guy. Stop this nonsense. Canada will never join the United States. I can tell you that my parents were not millionaires from New York. They were workers from Shawinigan. But my mother taught us good manners. She would have been ashamed of me if I had treated anyone the way that the President treated my Prime Minister and the President in Ukraine in the last few weeks. The reason we don't want to become American is because our values as Canadians. We are proud Canadians, and yes, we owe a debt of recognition to Mr. Trump. He has united us as never before. So I want to say thank you to him. And I think I will propose him for the Order of Canada. I'm just kidding. Mesdames et messieurs, quand j'étais Premier ministre et que j'allais partout dans le monde,
I would travel across the world. I went to the UN, to the G7, to NATO, to the Commonwealth, to the Francophonie, and to all sorts of international meetings on the 5 continents. When I came back to Canada, each time I would say that the job of being Prime Minister is perhaps the easiest of any country in the world. Canada is the country that works the best, I think. Much better than any other country in the world.
And it's why there are millions and millions of human beings from all over the world who would like to come and become Canadian citizens. There was a survey not long ago. They were asking the people, where will you want to go if you had to start again your life? And Canada was number 1. Why? It is because Canada is the land of freedom. Canada is the land of opportunity, the land of generosity, the land of tolerance, the land of stability, the land of rule of law. It is our land that is the envy of the world. Canada will continue to rise true north, strong and free. Nobody will starve us into submission, because Canada is and will remain the best country in the world. Vive le Canada!